a couple of the things and things that I've already touched on. Some of the things we wanted to mention is I've heard some of these reasons why you guys are a little bit concerned about taking the vaccine. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the vaccine came out, I was nervous. I said the same things, you know, this is a little bit rushed. This is, you know, how do we know it's safe and everything? But I'll have you, and I'll challenge you to do the same thing. Do your research. Look at only credible sources. Don't look at your Facebook friends. Look at Harvard reviews. Look at the CDC. Look at the people that are doing the studies you can read through the pages and know what where the information is coming from, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And Dr. Nielsen, I believe, is going to touch on this, but there's a researcher who got the names of a protein mixed up and then led to a lot of misinformation about infertility, and that's just not true. So we'll go into it a little bit more. The other thing I wanted to mention is most of us workers are young, and we're not the ones that are vulnerable to this disease, but it's something that we're doing to protect our loved ones and help create that herd immunity. We need to save that small percentage that doesn't get the vaccine. We need to save that small percentage that's not getting the vaccine, the 25% of the herd immunity. That herd immunity, that small percentage, that's saved for people with medical exemptions, that have allergic reactions to vaccines, that have a doctor that says this really could hurt you if you get the vaccine. So please save those medical exemptions for the folks that really need them. And we need to get on board to get this vaccine to protect everyone, because this COVID disease really does hurt a lot of people, and each of you has lost somebody at your communities to COVID, or know somebody that has lost somebody to COVID. So it's very important that we take this seriously. I'm going to go ahead and have Dr. Nielsen explain a few things about the vaccine, about how it became, and then we'll start going into these frequently asked questions that I put together, and then we'll open it up to questions from you guys. So thank you, guys.
Take the mask off so you can hear me. First thing I wanted to do is talk for just a minute about the types of vaccines that are out there. The messenger RNA vaccines are a new style of vaccine, but not new with the COVID-19 vaccine. They've actually made several vaccines. You've all heard about Ebola. They have a vaccine for Ebola that they've been using for a couple of years now that uses the same technology, and it's been very effective. The benefit of the messenger RNA type of vaccine is that it can be modified or changed very quickly. For example, now that we have some new strains that seem to be coming up, they've tested the vaccines against the new strains. They're still effective against these new strains that are coming up. But if they need to modify the vaccine, they can do that much more quickly than if they have to go back to square one. That doesn't mean they avoid any of the tests. They do, but the technical part of the development is much quicker. And so there are some very clear advantages to the messenger RNA vaccines, but there are other vaccines out there. There are viral vector vaccines. For example, the Oxford vaccine is a viral vector vaccine. The Sputnik vaccine is a viral vector vaccine. There are attenuated vaccines that are under development. And that's the standard old way of doing it. For example, the polio vaccine was an attenuated virus vaccine. And those types are being developed and are in testing and are probably going to be approved very quickly. Maybe even this week, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to be approved. So there's several different technologies being developed. All of them are being scrutinized to the same standard. As was mentioned here, there have been no shortcuts. There's been an accelerated pace because of the intensity and because of the infusion of money from governments into the process to be able to allow these companies to go at the speed that they have, to have people work through the night and have different shifts. And normally it takes a year to go through a phase 3 just because it takes that much time to get 40,000 patients to sign up and go through the process. And because they've been able to hire the people to do these, they've been able to accelerate these phase 3 by signing more people up sooner. So no cut corners. The technology is exceptional, and that's because science is getting better and better. I can understand people saying, is it something I should do? My own brother, he's a world-class physicist, a scientist, exceptional mind, called me up and said, is it safe for me to take? Because he needed to have somebody who could look into the data and make that determination. I said, yes, I'm taking the vaccine. I've had the first dose. Coming up here, the second one in a couple of days. Yes, it's safe. Not only is it safe, but it's very desirable. He is older than I am. He's at risk. If he comes down with COVID, he runs a significant risk of dying. If he takes the vaccine, he runs a significant risk of having a headache for a few hours. That is a huge difference. And so I said, yes, please go get the vaccine. For your own sake, for the sake of those around you and that you interact with. So that's just an opening remark there on vaccine. We should open it maybe for specific questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
So I have a few that we got on the Google form. So these are anonymous ones that were submitted. The first question is, what is in the vaccine and what is it made of? One of the things, like Dr. Nielsen was saying, is it's not perfectly new technology. This mRNA process has been studied and gone through trials since 1989. This is the first time that they've had some significant breakthroughs. And for the interest of time, I won't go through it, but I'd say go ahead and study this so that you can see how it's progressed and how it's now becomes a safe technology. Initially, it was really hard on your immune system. And it still is, to the effect that it's triggering your body to elicit that immune response and fight a disease that's not actually there, but so that you can get the antibodies. But it's really that mRNA, which very, very basically comes down to being a protein. It's very complicated. You can look it up what that actually means, but and then a lipid oil, and then it comes in saline. So the majority of what you're getting in your arm is that saline solution, and then this little small amount of mRNA encased in lipid oil.
So let me just add to that. Thanks. So the first concept is, when you say it's an attenuated vaccine or an attenuated virus, you basically stomp the virus and you neuter it, and then you put it in the body. This is a messenger. It's like, so RNA, or you think DNA or whatever, it sends a message. This protein does, it says, if anything shows up that has little spikes on it and it's a virus, we want you to start your antibodies and attack it and get it out. And so it will start making those after you get it. It is not the virus in any shape or form. It is this messenger that's been put together to go in there and send a message. You now need to start making antibodies in the event that this type of virus shows up. So it's just a messenger, and that's why it's so neat and cool. And because it's so good, you're going to feel the immunities start on it. And so, for many people, I didn't feel that much. But for many people, you see, wow, I'm not feeling that great, but it goes away. It goes away in it's usually the second vaccine, and it goes away in a day. Great. What's the next one?
One last little note, there are no embryos. I have heard that before. That is not true. This is not, the protein that the mRNA is made out of is not a human embryo or any embryo. The vaccine was too rushed. I believe we went into that. Lots of money went into making sure that the phases were basically done together if possible. So they started manufacturing the vaccine at the same time they were doing the clinical trials. So
wait, let's just go back, because I want to make sure, because Peter made a very valid point. Most times, the timing on the vaccine, and it's getting pushed through the system, is much slower because they're trying to raise the money to get it done. And they're trying to get people involved, and they try to do it as cheaply as possible. Here, billions were pushed out by the federal government to say, you make this, and I'm going to buy 100 million vaccines from you guys. And so it allowed them.
I'm going to pay you in advance.
Yeah, and we'll pay you in advance. And that allowed them to get a lot of stuff done far, far more quickly.
All right, the next